Everyone speaks Arabic, by the way, right? Or
Yes.
okay, cool. Should I start, or you haven't started recording yet, right?
Yeah. So hi everyone, and welcome here today. We're going we're having here Wael Khattar. He's a freelance no-code developer with a strong background in fintech and startups. Thank you, Wael, for leading this session and for
Okay.
having you with us today. And I will let you introduce yourself.
Thank you. Thank you, Maria. So yeah, as a small introduction, so I started my career in finance as an investment advisor, and then I quit to start my own startup in the investment advisory platform for banks, financial institutions. We were part of multiple accelerators, including Flat Six Labs at some point, and then we restarted again in the UK, raised funding multiple times from angel investors who funds in Europe. We had clients in UAE, London, Jordan, Mauritius. We closed down B 2023, then started working with Finflex, Y Combinator startup in Dubai. I was supposed to join as a co-founder. And then I did that for 6 months, and then I started freelancing, building MVPs for founders. I'm generally using no code, but I've also worked with developers, and yeah, so that's generally my experience. For the past 2 years, I've worked on 20, 30 plus products, maybe. Um, so yeah. I've seen the startups that are here, right? So what you're building, but I'd love to know a bit more about which stages are you at. If you can write it down in the chat, or if you want to just say it here, that would be great. Just to understand
And
the
guys, can
audience.
you open your cameras and to keep this more engaging?
انا هقول لا لانه لقطنا كوفيد من الاي بارك ثينج وضعي مش وضعي كتير لاطلع على الكاميرا بس هيك توك.
لا ليلتك.
مسامح سلامتك.
اول شيء هاي وائل we've met before بس ما بحس تتذكرني through رينا. Nice to see
Uh,
what you're doing.
thank you.
I'm the CEO of Impersonas. We're currently in the MVP building stage where I'm actually using no code to develop the platform. More or less in the digital human industry بس أكتر file transfer IP licensing side of thing than the avatar making side of thing.
Okay, that's cool. Which platform are you using?
ما سمعت للنو كود.
Which platform?
جربت base 44 which was great بس ما حبيت كتير ال interface والfront end design options, so now I'm on Lovable.
Okay. ويور تكنيكال او لا؟
I'm technical in digital humans, not in coding, so a different kind of
Okay.
technical.
Okay, cool. Anyone else wants to join, explain whether they are, which tech stack they're using, are they
Yeah,
technical or not?
I can go next. Hi,
Yeah.
this is
Hey,
Nabil from
Nabil.
Quark. We have we're past MVP. We have our MVP ready.
Okay.
We did use code to do it. Myself, I'm a
Okay.
software engineer,
Okay.
so I have the background. I didn't do it myself, but we have two mobile apps on the stores and the back end and the portal, admin portal, as a website.
Okay. Cool. Anyone else wants to? Okay, so Beaver, MVP stage, physical product, participation product, Moodle, uh, for gamification version, still in the idea stage. Okay, cool. So you need to build a whole product essentially for the education, for the gamification. All right. All right. Anyone else? Before we can start. It's just good to get an idea to like personalize the conversation better. All right. Let's start. So essentially, what we're gonna talk about at the beginning, just at the beginning, what's an MVP? Just to create a context for the conversation. So my definition of an MVP is like a minimal version of a product with only the core features that's designed to gather feedback and validate assumptions with a minimum amount of resources, which I guess you already know. But I guess the most important part of this is that you really want to cut down on the features as much as possible. You want to make sure that you start with something very, very simple and you make it very, very good. لأنه having one feature that's great is much better than having five features that are all average, right? And when I say average, it means it delivers on the value, it solves the problem, and the user knows how to use it very well, right? So unless you're on that level for every feature, personally, I don't recommend moving forward and building more features. And one more thing that I've added, I think now is very important, especially with AI, is that you need to know how it works, right? So for example, if you're using Lovable to build something, and you're not technical yourself and you're not a software engineer and you don't know the principles of security and maintenance and understanding how the app works, personally, I wouldn't call that an MVP. It could be good for prototyping, but taking that into production, I think it's quite problematic because sometimes the AI won't know how to solve it for you. So there's a bug, there's something happening, there's a data breach, and then you'll have no idea how to move forward if the AI doesn't do it very well. Right. Throughout this conversation, by the way, please feel free to cut me off and ask questions if you have any. Um, there's a lot of nuance بالحديث, so a lot of things can change depending on your situation, depending on what you're building. If you're building B2C or B2B, if you're building B2B, who are they? Are they small companies, big companies? Are you using sensitive data, non-sensitive data? All of this plays a big role, right? But generally speaking, yeah, you want to build an MVP that's fast to test assumptions, make quick changes, get feedback, and yeah, to do that, you need to understand how it works. Um, so generally, my quick process is, I guess you've seen this also, like you define a core problem, make sure that you understand it very clearly, that can be said in one sentence. It's very simple that anyone can understand it. And then you identify which features do you need to solve this problem. Um, Here you have to cut down anything that's not useful at the beginning, and then once people are complaining about something or demand something or require something, then you can start building on top. Uh, After you're understanding the features, you decide which tech platform you want to use, right? Whether you use code if you're technical or if you're a developer, or use no-code tools if you're not, or even develop if you're a developer and you want to use no This is where you have to double check the requirements. What are you sending it to? Is that a factor, etc. Integrations, scalability, blah, blah, blah. And we're going to talk about this a bit more in detail. Four is like, yeah, build a small prototype, test it with users. At the beginning, I would recommend just giving it to your friends, even if they're not ideal customers, just to see if the interface is pretty good or not, if they know where to click next. This is like basic stuff that can be covered by anyone. But then once this is done, you can go into ideal customer interviews, test it with them before launch, make sure that everything is okay. And then you launch, get the other feedback, iterate. Any questions so far? All right. Okay. Next, today يمكن هذه conversation was very different a year ago or 2 years ago, بس today صار في a huge development in AI building software quite fast مثل Lovable مثل Bolt في V0 etc. في a lot of platforms, right? And then those are built for non-technical people. And then if you're technical, then you have IDEs مثل Cursor, مثل Windsurf, مثل Cloud Code that all help you write code if you know how to do it in the first place. So I guess that one maybe a small definition of what do I mean by no-code tools versus what do I mean by AI tools. No-code tools in general have added a layer on top of the code. So instead of writing the sentence or asking it in English, you can drag and drop, click, and then you create that code. That was built originally for non-technical people, so the whole experience, you still require some software engineering principles, but you don't need to understand how to write code in general. While with AI tools, حتى with Lovable and such products, المشكلة إنه 90% of the time you don't need to understand anything to to write code. You need to understand everything to review the code. And then 10% of the time when the AI fails, you need to understand how to fix it or how to nudge it in the right direction. We're also going to be talking about like the downsides of things and what to look out for in general, but this is a general rule. In both ways, it's very important to understand the code, whether it's building on platforms like Bubble or building with actual code. If you don't understand how it works, for me, this is a big problem. And then your next step is to either get someone technical on your team if you don't have anyone that can understand this, or you work with someone that can understand it. But you need to have someone within the team that knows how it works and verifies that it works as it should. But yeah, as I mentioned, both require software engineering principles, so you can't run away from that, at least today. Things are changing. Maybe in a few years or maybe in a few months, things will change, but I'm talking about today. You still need to know what you're doing in order to build something that's production ready. Otherwise, you're adding risk where it's not needed. So let's say you have your requirements, right? Like you know what you're building, you know who you're building it for, and you have like you have a checklist of things that need to be there in the MVP. The next question is to decide which platform to use or which tech stack to use, or and that depends on a lot of different elements, right? One part of it is the technical implementation, right? So can the platform or the tech stack deliver on what I want technically from the product? Which means I'm building a mobile app. Can this platform build a mobile app for me? So for example, Webflow cannot build mobile apps. Bubble recently can, but they're very basic. So if you want to build something complex, probably it's not the best solution. But if you were building web applications, then platforms like Bubble, like are really good. Also like WeWeb. If you're building simple websites for marketing, Webflow, Framer, probably great. Even Lovable is pretty good at it now, or Base 44. If you're building, for example, something where you're required to analyze a lot of data, like huge amounts of data, then probably using Bubble is not the best solution. Then might want to go to Xano if you want no code, or you might want to build it with code and scale it yourself and handle all of that. So beyond the technical part, there's also the skills that you have in the team, and the budget that you have in the team, and long-term maintenance slash hiring. What does that mean? What I mean by it is every tech stack has its own problems, its own pros and cons, and its own pool of talent, right? So to work with a tech platform or this tech stack, you need to understand it, or you need to have someone in the team that knows it. If you don't, that's a bigger issue because you need to learn it, and that's going to be slower. So first, make sure that you have talent in the team that understands it. If you don't, make sure that this talent is easily accessible online, right? Like you can, or online or in person, but generally you can hire someone that knows the skill quite easily at a low price. Because there are certain technologies that are not very popular. So a lot of developers don't learn them. So then the number of developers available becomes smaller, and then you have a smaller pool to choose from, and this can become a problem as you scale. Usually with no-code platforms, like Bubble is the best platform there is. It's the biggest platform there is, and has the biggest community of Bubble developers, and has the biggest community of teachers, right? So you can find a lot of videos online teaching you how to build with Bubble, versus, for example, Webflow or others. Any questions so far? Right. So yeah, once you understand the skill set you have in the team, once you understand the availability of the pool of talent, there's also the question of a budget, right? Because if you're building with AI, for example, the more you build, the more you pay. Uh, this is for me, it's a very annoying way to price, because especially with AI, sometimes you request something, it fails, and then you keep going back in circles until you figure it out, and all of that's costing you money. I've seen people that are paying thousands of dollars a month for Claude Code Max and whatever other platforms. So that side can get very expensive. While building, for example, on Bubble, you can build for free, and then once you launch it, you pay a subscription per month, which one, it only costs your time to build, which is good. But also it's more predictable for you in terms of cost of development going forward. And for me, it's a it's obviously a question to debate at the moment whether no code in the future is still going to be there in terms of is it going to be still be able to compete with AI platforms? Because what we're seeing with AI platforms is that you can build quite fast. Uh, you can build something that seems to work quite fast, which is at the moment this is where I see how I see it happen, right? So you write a prompt, you get something that looks good. You click a few buttons, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. The full system is not in place. Which means like until you reach production, like my benchmark at least, it depends on what you're doing, right? If you're doing design and prototyping, then AI is definitely a much better solution probably today than no code. But once your goal is to build a production ready app, and what I mean by production ready, I mean users can go in, they can safely put in their data, it does what needs them to do without any major issues, right? So if your goal is to build production ready app, um, that means you need to make sure that it satisfies all the requirements. From my experience using AI, it's still slower to get there than using no code, especially if you don't have the testing in place, because with AI or the reviewing process in place, because AI writes code super fast. And I think the main bottleneck today in speed of development is not writing code, but it's reviewing code, which means AI can write thousands of lines very quickly, but then you don't know if this what wrote is correct, right? Or not essentially correct in terms of right or wrong, but if that's what you wanted to do or not. Because AI takes a lot of different assumptions under the behind the scenes that doesn't necessarily ask you about. And if it asks you about it, you don't necessarily know the answer, right? Um, so that's where the role of software engineer or CTO comes in, where they need to be able to review every single line and make sure that there's no security vulnerabilities, it works as it should, all scenarios are covered. And this gets more and more complex once you have like different user roles, different features that you need to enable, and then each change needs to cover different scenarios. This becomes quite complex, and AI usually can't deliver on these, especially like lovable. But then if you're a developer and you take it into Cursor and then you can work with the code, then you can probably fix it yourself, right? Uh, Is it clear so far? Please send me in the chat, yes, no, if all's good, just as a confirmation before I continue. Okay, cool. Thank you, Noor. All right. Now, just to go into each platform specifically, and then I tell you the pros and cons in general. So Bubble, as I mentioned, is a full stack web application development platform. Yara is asking, can you please talk about Figma versus Framer? Okay. So yeah, we're gonna talk about each platform. So let's start with Bubble. Bubble is full stack, which means that you can build the front end, you can build the back end, and it has a database integrated. You can do integrations with other systems too through an API connector. Generally, it covers everything that's web. You can build mobile apps on it, but then you have to the old way you used to have to wrap the web application into a mobile app, which is it works, but it doesn't give you the best experience as a user. Now they've released their mobile editor, so you can now write or create mobile applications within Bubble using React and using their platform. But it's still in beta and it's still very limited technically, right? So I wouldn't recommend it today, but it's getting there. The problem with Bubble in general, or at least the very good things about Bubble, is that it's very fast to build if you know what you're doing, and it scales really well. They have enterprise clients. You can get your dedicated server. So it's generally very good. Where it fails is One, you have vendor lock-in, so you can't move your code away from Bubble. So if you start building with Bubble, it has to stay with Bubble, which is a problem. It's a decision you have to take, right? If that risk you want to take it or not. Two, their database can be slow, if not well designed, and if the data is huge, it's usually not very good. And third, from an SEO perspective, it's also not the best platform, because the pages load tiny bit slower because they have a lot of code they need to inject in order to make it work. So usually it's not very good for SEO. You can optimize it, you can make it work, but it's not optimized for it, right? There's better platforms for that. But you can always separate the marketing website with a blog than from the app itself. So this way you can benefit, for example, from Framer, which is very good for SEO, and then use Bubble for the application on a subdomain, which is usually good practice. There's Webflow. Webflow is usually it's not a web application platform, but you can have like a small CMS on it. So I'm adding it there. But usually Webflow is for websites, right? Marketing websites. Something that's not complex. I've worked with it before. It's not my favorite. It's a bit annoying to work with. For example, I prefer Framer for that. Framer is similar to Webflow. It's just a website slash CMS, so you can have a blog on it. But it's an actual website you can launch, right? Versus Figma, for example, which is a design platform. At the moment, they have added like an AI development layer, I think. But traditionally, yeah, Figma is for designs used by designers. If you're doing a marketing website, usually Framer is pretty good. If you can use templates, right? If you want a custom design, then probably the designer is going to work on Figma, and then you need the developer to take Figma into Framer, or you can use like I think there's AI tools, but they don't get it 100% right. Also depending on the design, complexity, stuff like that. I hope I answered the question. But yeah, going back to web applications. So if we're building a web application, WeWeb is also a good option. WeWeb, you can export the code. They have now an AI builder. Also, by the way, Bubble is working towards an AI capability. They've launched like a AI builder at the beginning. So you give it the prompt, gives you the original app, and then you have to build from there. But I know from their like promotional videos that they're building an AI companion, right? So you can eventually build on Bubble the same way you build on Lovable, but then you have all the visual elements and you can interact with it, which I think is ideal situation, but let's see how fast they get there. Uh, Now, if you're building a mobile application, then here the options are a bit different. So there's Flutterflow, which is kind of the biggest one. But you still need to know how to build on Flutter in order to use it properly, in order to get something to production. They have an AI developer now. Again, it kind of works, but you need to know how it works. And it's highly, usually I don't recommend it very much. The Bubble mobile editor as well is also, as I mentioned, is still at an early stage. Glide is really good if you're doing like basic applications where you just want to show data from a spreadsheet, for example, then Glide is a good option. For backend stuff, usually I recommend using Bubble for most cases where you don't need another backend. But in case you're using a front end and then you want to link it to a backend, Zeno is a good option. It's high performant, so you can do a large number of workflows on it without any issue. It's quite fast. It's quite scalable. Airtable is less fast, less scalable, but it's easier to manage, right? It's like an Excel spreadsheet, but then you can connect it to platforms like Glide, for example, or Bubble or any other platform. And then you have Make and Zapier, which are kind of integration solutions, right? So it helps you create workflows using integrations from 1,000+ apps. So a lot of the work can be removed. So it can make development faster to use those. For design and prototyping, as I said, Framer, if you're doing like basic website design, marketing website. Figma, if you're designing more complex applications, but usually a UX UI designer needs to do that. If you're doing it yourself, I guess if you're building yourself too, then you can directly do it on the platform where you're building. But yeah, it's at the moment today, I think you can also get something using Bolt or Lovable, where you can ask it to build only clickable prototypes of the UI rather than an actual working solution. And then you can ask the AI to make changes, or with Lovable, you can change colors or text or whatever. So you can personally, that's how I'm using them today. So whenever I have to build something, I give Lovable or Bolt, usually Bolt for UI stuff. I give it context and generates a few pages that I can get inspired by, and then from there I take it and build it. So yeah, from a platform selection perspective, just to recap, it depends on your requirements, depends on your budget, depends on the skills that you have and the skills that you have access to now and in the future. Uh, I've already talked quickly about the downsides just to make sure that we covered everything. So for Bubble and Zano, there's a vendor lock-in, so you can't leave the platform. Mobile development is still limited on those. Database for Bubble is not suitable for huge amounts of data. For Zano, it's better. And SEO optimization is a bit harder to achieve than on Bubble. For platforms like Lovable, Replit, and Bolt.new, which for me, they're AI development platforms made for non-technical people. I think it's very easy and fast to develop a prototype, but you need engineering skills to know how to build a production-ready product. It can get stuck on certain problems. It can also make assumptions that are not the right ones as you go, which can become one, quite expensive to fix, two, it can become unreliable, especially as the code base gets bigger. And in most cases, also security is a big issue. I know there's like Replit are working on it, Lovable are working on it, but I mean, today, unless you know what you're looking for, it's going to make decisions that are easier to implement, but sacrifices security. Um,
Ali,
then the
raise your
third,
hand. Uh,
ah,
Yes,
yeah, Ali.
Khalid, thank you. هاي وائل كيفك؟ أنا
ماشي.
عبد الدين founder at Nuat. So نحن we're creating a software only AI powered platform that connects to solar homes. So we have two
اه
journeys للhome owners وللinstallers. Okay.
اوكي.
As a brief هلا نحن عم نعمل testing in real life بس بتمنى إذا ممكن بتعرف مثلا for stress test or whatever في شيء مثلا شيء AI platform that can do tests مثلا at least from a stress test or crash test أو حيلا في صار في هيك شيء ولا لا بعد؟
I haven't used any, but if can, I think we used Jenkins last time. I've tried to do something similar. Um, but I don't know of any myself. It depends on what test you want to do. Some tests you can do yourself, right?
اكيد نحن عم نعمل تيستينج بس كثير بشيل يعني يكون في مثل شيء ذات
I agree.
هايلايت مثلا كثير بشيل يعني بدفع حقها صراحه
I
سو
agree.
بس
I agree. Security a big thing. وscalability testing is a big thing that I think هلا
يا
يعني in the next few months هيطلع كتير platforms أكتر that are focusing on this. Which definitely needed. Especially testing لأنه especially if you're building with AI you're testing you're making changes
صح
then you need to retest everything.
صح
At
و...
the moment
و...
it's
وبفضل
not
كمان
there.
انه غير رايي البشري كمان في راي ثاني
Yeah, for
سو
sure.
ذاتس ات يعني ثانكس
Uh, okay, Nabil, you had the same question. Kamin, yeah, you want to do security testing for the platform. You're looking for a solution.
Yeah, if there's any solution for that.
I'll look for things. I'll let you know as I find anything.
All right, thanks, man.
yeah, like a new startup
Yes.
idea if someone would like to.
Honestly, honestly, it's definitely an
honestly
issue.
انا كثير بشيل اول زبون وفوت شريط
Eh, honestly, I've heard a lot of, I've seen on Twitter, I remember a few names where they're trying to solve this problem, but I didn't try their solution. I need to look for them. But it's definitely a very good idea to build something.
هو وائل ماشي يعني بس انه تنوصل بس اتليست ديتا على الويب وتنكب المحل الصح يعني بس هلا
Fair, fair.
بتصور يعني
Uh, ايه ولا no, again depends على السكوب of testing that you want to do. Right انه مثلا زي you want to simulate a DDoS attack that's kind of easy. زي you want to do testing for the code itself is that's working the way it should, that's different, right?
نحن وائل بس لهيك يعني حتى بس تو انجيج اكثر انه نحن بس مثلا زايدين وذر داتا ليتس سي سو
Okay.
زايدين different data sets so حتى heat maps وكلايمت وغيره هلا the thing is انه مثلا الوذر we can forecast it based على historical ونجرب انه الفوركاستنج عم بيصيب مثلا وكل هالاخبار ليوم صار in the past let's say او شيء هيك عرفت شو
Mm.
so that's it mainly يعني لهيك بقول لك انه we can do it based على all data historical data او شيء.
Okay, fair. Fair. I'll look for something and I'll let you know.
Thank you.
Anyone has any other questions? All right. So كنا بالثird category اللي هن AI powered IDEs. So this is where developers usually write code. The biggest one is Cursor. There's also Windsurf that's now potentially being acquired. I guess it's dying out as a product. And there's Claude Code, which is more of a CLI rather than a IDE, but it also helps you write code, right? For all of those, you need software development experience or a lot of patience and a lot of money to learn as you go. But otherwise, to do something that's really good, you need experience. You have to read code, you have to understand it, and it can get expensive and unreliable as the code base gets bigger, right? And this is something important to understand. If you're not technical and you can get something going at first, that's not the worst thing, especially if you're skills within the team, or you want to buy time, or you want to use it as a lever. That's not the worst thing. But if you're launching like fully, you're taking people's money, people are adding data, potentially sensitive data, then I would recommend like take a step back, find someone that knows, and then continue from there, right? Or like, yeah. Also, like, I'm not sure if a lot of you are B2B, but like selling to big companies. But usually you need a lot of screenshots of the product or like features or whatever. This works amazingly well for like Bolt or V0 or Lovable. Like sometimes if I want just a screenshot of a product, I want to put it, I don't have it built yet, but I just want to test out the market for it. Using these platforms is amazing. Gets you quick results. Add your screenshots of your website to get the brand identity, and then it gets really good results. For websites, Framer Webflow, main issues are technical limitations, right? So they do what they do very well, but what they can do is a website plus CMS. Beyond that, there's nothing. That's generally what I want to talk about. Generally, is you want to learn more. Or if you want to learn Bubble, there's Bubble Academy plus a lot of content on YouTube, right? There's is that you want to learn Cursor, Windsurf, or other IDEs and how to build with AI. Then I'd recommend Buildcamp. It's paid courses, but it's really good. It's from Gregory John. في No Code Alliance كمان if you want to do like Bubble courses, paid courses to get you things faster. They also have AI for non-technical people. It's a good resource. وإذا you want to start with templates, for example, you have Bubble Marketplace, you have Framer templates, where you can just pick up something. If you're doing like a marketplace, then probably it's good to start with a template. It's already built or it's already available. So this is what I had in mind to cover. And then I wanted to open the floor if you have any questions, حتى beyond MVP building, or the topic, if anything you have a question in mind and you want some advice or my opinion, be great. Go for it. All right. Did you ever work on LMS platforms and recommendation? LMS, you mean learning management systems, right? Uh, Generally, you can build it on Bubble. It depends on what kind of customization you want with it, right? If you just want to show courses or play videos, show the content, then probably there's a lot of white label LMS platforms. So they're made for this, and you can just use it, create your own profile, add your content, and you're good to go. If you're looking to build something more personalized or gamification that you want to implement, stuff like that, I would recommend building on Bubble, right? Uh, but then I assume also like part of how you grow with this is SEO. So I would have like a marketing website on Framer with a blog, and then have the app separately on Bubble. Um, any other questions?
Well,
يس وائل.
Yes, Alex.
سوري. في حدا بده يحكي؟
اتفضل اتفضل.
Go ahead.
اوكي سو وائل، نحن تقريبا فيك تقول نحن بدنا نطلع لايف بسبتمبر، بس the thing is انه مثلا اذا في let's say نطلع بفيرجن way better، اوكي، من ناحيه اليو اي نظبطها اكثر، تنصح واحد يطلع بالفيرجن اللي عم يتست فيها وكل شيء، و along the way يظبط، ولا يظبط directly مثلا we can مثلا enhance. I know منه اكثر AI specific question اكثر from a
لا
software.
it's a really good question.
بس تنصح واحد يطلع لايف بالتستنج برودكت، ولا يغيره مثلا 180 ويفاجئ التستنج يوزرز
لا
بشيء جديد؟
هلا what do you mean
تنصح.
by launch?
اوكي سو وي
What's
جو لايف يعني.
ايه بس what does that mean? Is it عم تطلع paid campaigns عم تحط على LinkedIn? Is it يعني what's the expected audience that you're getting?
اودينس قصدك يعني كومبانيز، ولا بي تو سي، ولا بي تو بي، ولا كيف قصدك؟
No, potential users that are landing on your
Yes, so كpotential users it's B2B2C, so we cater both، بس انه mainly
okay
B2C in a way. لانه هو الانستليشنز يعني مطرح ما مركب سولر، اوكي. سو
okay
نحن وير تيستينج بالاب معهم، اوكي، بس انه
okay
في مجال انه الواحد بعد يظبط اكثر. بتعرف انت
هلا
الواحد يعني بتصير يتوتر انه ممكن تعجب الماس ولا لا، ممكن هذا
صح.
بالليمتد نمبر يمكن نحسن اكثر، بس انه بتنصح واحد يظبط along the way based على ال recommendations، ولا انه دغري يبلش فيها او يعطيها وقتها هلا يعني؟
هلا انت قلت انت you're testing live مع users هلا
صح
صح؟
صح صح.
okay that's a very good step صح. So again لا هي depends على launch و it depends على the budget. What do I mean by that? Let's say انت you're doing a big launch عم تعمل فيديو مع
مم.
paid campaigns
مم.
$100 لانه you raised money blah blah blah.
مم.
Then I would recommend لا make sure انه it looks good انه your brand is good stuff like that, right?
مم.
إذا عم تعمل launch صغير
مم.
بمعنى انه ما في big budget behind it blah blah blah, I say launch with whatever you have and then fix as you go. لأنه the
Perfect.
impact on your brand isn't going to be huge. Plus you can always rebrand. بمعنى إذا ما حطيت كتير effort بعد على الماركتينج وما بعرف you built a brand that people know وصار عندك SEO really good على your domains blah blah blah, you can always rebrand و relaunch, right?
Perfect. So we keep it
حتى
as
يعني
option B. إذا مثلا لا سمح الله things went إنه unexpected أو شيء.
ايه sure. بس انه انا برأيي يعني دايما launch as soon as possible. Again as long as you're not doing a huge campaign, launch as fast as possible و keep launching بمعنى انه once you do the new UI launch again, announce it عرفت. You built a new feature launch it again, that's another launch, right? إذا you feel at some point انه after ما بعرف a year and a half you're fixing things, it's improving, now it's reached a point where it's really really good, but you think the brand is hurt by it, then you rebrand with a new product, you relaunch again. صح, launching is not a one time thing. It needs to be continuous.
Deal. Thanks.
Okay, well, so I wanted to ask هلا التولز اللي عم تقولوا مثلا مثل lovable so هي to build a marketing website but not actually no for the users to use أو to add their data إنه
But here the question is, and you can do that with Lovable, right? But the main question for me is, are you technical or not, or like, can you build the product yourself or not with code, right? For me, is that you're not that person. Uh, the most likely outcome is gonna be, and you can build a product that looks like it works, so people can add their data on it, can function, you can it works the way it should. But you'll never be sure about what's happening behind the scenes, is that's actually performing the way you want it to or not, and if the data is secure or not. I think the biggest example of that recently من يومين ثلاثة, there's a dating app اسمها T shy, the T app, where it was made for women to share information about men in the dating scene and red flags and stuff like that, right? It was built, I think it was vibe coded by a couple of guys in Brazil. It went super viral. It was number one on App Store. And then one developer found out and their whole database was just public. They didn't even have any security in place. So they just opened the database. So they saw thousands of IDs من women. No, they had to verify themselves as they sign in. So there's like driving licenses, IDs, حتى addresses من certain metadata من images. So it was a huge security breach just because they vibe coded the whole thing. They didn't know what they were doing, right?
so
So
there's
this
no way
is
to put a security on it.
you can. It's just like you need to be a developer, right? And you need to review every line of code.
Oh, okay.
So يعني هيدي الاسsumption of speed with AI, and I think personally from my experience it falls a bit once you need to check every box every time to make sure everything is good. Once you need to do that, it becomes a much slower experience to build with AI لأنه it writes so much code, so you need to review everything and make sure everything is good every time. And if you add that, it becomes slower than no code today, right?
So yeah, it's better to use it if you're using it for a marketing website أحسن.
Today, yes, that's the safest thing. صح لأنه it's low risk, no security issues mostly, right?
وائل هلا بتصور سوري بس انه فيرسل يمكن helps on that more advanced شوي من lovable.
ما في شيء that comes yet. ما هي مشكلة security شو إنه it's not a one size fits all. بمعنى إنه not every app will have the same setup for it to be secure. So once you start going, كلهم they allow you to control all the aspects of the code or all the aspects of security. So every platform you can build something secure with it, right? What I'm saying is إنه if you're not a developer, that's much, much harder. As you are a developer, then the speed of development is slower than it appears لأنه you need to check every time that everything is good. But all platforms will do something, will allow you to build something secure. وجنرally كلهم kind of the same pace. يعني
Nabil, you can ask.
Oh, sorry. I have two questions. The first one is, have you seen actual startup do use AI as a product to do an MVP app, something functional, fully functional, not just one page, something like real, something that you can use on the market.
F,
That's one.
F,
Yeah.
yeah, go for it as well. Ask both
Yeah,
questions.
the second is a continuation, and if yes, after this phase, you have to throw away the MVP and start doing an actual app, right? So this is my question.
Yeah. First of all, I have seen an internal tool built with it. Right, I've had a friend who also developed a few apps, few MVPs using it. The one that works, again, was built by developers, right? So it's a basic CRM. It works quite well. It was developed within like 50 hours or something of work, plus whatever cost of AI. Generally speaking, I could have built it within the same or less time using Bubble because I know it very well, and probably it would be more secure. I'm talking today. right? Because I want to insist on this a lot لأنه the platforms are improving so much, the AI is improving so much that this might change. Um, but I guess, yeah, تاني part, if yes, what was the question?
So
After the
ممكن
MVP is
مثلا
you need
في
to
ليفل
throw it away.
ايش
Yeah.
اللايف تايم تبعه يعني؟
Uh, again, it depends على how you build it. صح يعني أنا in my opinion is that you're building with AI, you need to again review every single part of the code and make sure that it's up to standard. You have your prompts in place. You double check that it is taken into consideration. Is that you do that and you're guiding it the whole way, then you end up with code صح that you probably reviewed and accepted. Is that you're doing it and no, this is one big prompt, go for it. I get my IVP and then I start. Hey, probably this code is going to be garbage. You have to throw it away at some point. So, uh, so you either go super fast, get something that's average at the end or that you need to throw away, or you take your time, make sure that you understand, take it as companion, double check everything, and then you get something that kind of you wrote. But obviously it's much slower, right?
Yeah.
Uh, oh, I think more, you're saying, what's the point of vibe coding if you still need to be a developer? There's no avoiding needing someone to manually check the code, I guess. But that's my problem with platforms like Lovable. Their marketing is everyone can build apps, or everyone can build apps today, right? I think this is false marketing. I think you can build an app today. I don't think non-technical people can build production-ready apps on Lovable today. So you still need a developer or you still need a technical person. At the end of the day, AI is not a CTO at the moment. It's more of like a junior developer slash senior developer that might make very stupid mistakes. So you still need someone to ask the right questions, to look at the right things and guide it in the right way, right? لأنه I think كمان this is an important part is the role of the CTO or the technical co-founder is not just technical, right? The difference between lead developer and co-founder, technical co-founder and a technical co-founder understands the business side of things and understands how the tech side affects the business side of things من ناحية budget من ناحية sales من ناحية customer support من ناحية whatever. So I guess providing this context for the AI today to make it a co-founder is not there yet. What can do is limited small time decisions. And from my experience, if you don't guide it, it usually takes the wrong assumptions, right? And this is very important. Also, one important thing about AI is you're building tests or automated tests. There's a using it. So you're asking it to create a test. There's a very likely chance and it will fake the results to pass the test. Right. So it will create fake data and send it to you as if it's real data to tell you, no, it works, even if it doesn't. So this is kind of an important thing to take into consideration. ايه عليك.
يس سؤال، بس سؤال صغير. نحن فور داتا اناليتكس حنستعمل جوجل شيتس. هلا كمان بدي اسالك سؤال صغير، انه is it correct انه مثل ما قريت انه it proves to investors مثلا كل شيء users عندك are authentic، كل testers are authentic. does it prove authenticity؟ هذا اول شيء. وفي مثلا better tool to track from an internal dashboard كل الداتا اللي عندك اياها and analyze it mainly clicks مثلا user spend مثلا ما بعرف خيالله. سو كل هالاخبار يعني في شيء افضل من اللي عم نستعمله او بتنصح فيها for authenticity؟
هلا انت what's the size of the data that's coming in? Are you getting like second by second analytics من كل ال solar power?
it's heavy. yeah it's heavy. So مش بس production consumption usage ومثل ما قلت لك 14 different data sets AI engine بالنص. في كتير قصص يعني.
And probably Google Sheets is not the best. You probably need a proper database مع data lake that handles all of this data properly as you want to scale. But as you want to start at first and it works,
yeah
go for it, right? Especially
okay.
you don't have very sensitive data صح؟ انه
anyway it is sensitive بس منا يعني منا regulated like انه مثلا فintech او شيء.
ايه بس انه واتس
so
الداتا انه من هذا المحل عم يوصل لها قد كهرباء انه اذا حدا عرف فيها they can't steal my
صح
identity
و
يعني.
averages.
ايه انه it's
اه
not
اه
no obviously you want it to be secure blah 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 بس انه
اكيد.
it's not sensitive so as a beginning you can start with Google Sheets and then but eventually you need a database especially if you want to store all of this data and analyze them later.
we do have a database بس حسب ما فهمت انه we need to create something specifically for it. uh, so it's better انه اول فتره بس نستعمل هذا الشيء، وفهمت اكثر انه it's more authentic than having our own. We can lie in using our own او شيء هيك يعني. حسب ما فهمت انه investors look at this انه فيك تزيد الارقام، تنقص، تعمل هيك قصص يعني.
Like and from an investor's perspective, my experience at least,
Yes.
they don't really care about the details of the tech. عارف it? As long as you can prove it works, we have customers who they're paying for it, we have validation from that end. They rarely go into on how you made it work. صح. Uh, as long as again it doesn't backfire. عارف it? بس don't go into those kind of details with investors, especially هلا. Have you raised any money yet, or this would be your first round?
Specifically الكويشن for us او كيف؟
Yeah.
نحن لا currently لا.
So you haven't raised so far, بس.
No.
Okay, so
هو كمان
first,
خاصة بالكلايمت أكتر يعني لبنان.
obviously, I'm not saying why not, but I'm saying is that you're raising your first round. It's probably going to be like an angel or an accelerator. Those people don't really care about the technicality behind it. Who actually being it depends on your storytelling. صح؟ إنه إذا you make it seem like a story إنه we're doing something very quick, very scrappy, but then we're gonna build it better just to validate fast. That's usually a good thing. It's not a negative, right? But as long as you understand the consequences and that you need to change it to something more scalable.
Deal, thank you.
Well, I have a question.
Yes.
What what's the best tool today to build a landing page, like just a basic website?
Framer or Lovable, depending on how you like doing it.
Okay, not V0 or Builder.
You can have V0, you can have Bolt. Bolt is usually good with UI coming. My approach is write a prompt. So go to ChatGPT or whatever, write a prompt with it, and then take that prompt to add it to Lovable, add it to Bolt, to add it to حتى Framer. You can, and then see the results, and then from there choose a platform. Right. At the end of the day, with AI
Okay.
platforms, you have access to the code, so you can take it and deploy it somewhere else whenever you want. So man, this commitment to the platform, right?
Okay,
That's
perfect.
why you see. Yeah.
And if I
أنا
have
I can
it,
pitch in كمان بهذا الشيء because I made a website and I don't code. A mix
Mm.
of Cargo and ChatGPT, and Cargo for the web hosting and design, and ChatGPT to help me figure my way around Cargo was more than enough to make two websites, one for myself and one for my company. فهيدي كمان as someone who didn't like code the website, I think it turned out
Yeah.
pretty nice.
I know personally I've used Framer recently to launch my personal website. Oh, it took me like 3 to 4 hours to get all the content to how do I use the template. Oh, like I think it works good.
okay, got it. Thank you. And if I have my landing page already on a Figma file, is there a way to translate Figma to a code?
There's a lot of tools like that. There's حتى tools to translate them into, I think, Framer or Bubble or stuff like that. My recommendation is it's usually not perfect, right? So it's going to translate a lot of the things. You get 80% of the way, but then you need to double check all the other 20%. But with AI tools, you can send it screenshots of each page, ask it, it'll do quite okay. My recommendation
Okay,
بزيادة
sounds
إنه
good.
إذا you have
Thanks.
multiple إذا you have multiple pages, my recommendation is build a page by page. Don't send it a prompt with 4 images. Just build one page, make sure it works really well, and then go for the next. لأنه إذا you do all four together, then you're gonna have a lot of small bugs everywhere. They're gonna be harder to catch.
That's what I've been trying to do, but it's not dynamic at all. No, I can't have it dynamic so that when you're scrolling, it moves around. You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
static.
I know my biggest blocker using AI to build landing pages, and that's why I went with Framer. I don't know how to describe what I want.
Yes,
يعني certain
exactly.
designs or animations, like I don't know the technical names of them. I can't search them. لا أعرف what they're called. So I end up not knowing how to describe what I want. So that's why I went with Framer. And I can click or I can change it myself.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I'll do that.
No worries. No worries. Ghassan, you have a question?
Hi, Wael.
Hi, Ghassan.
Okay, so my question is less technical, actually. Let's assume that you were able to create a prototype using these tools and you were happy with it. Okay, but
Mm.
now you want to move to production and you want to hire developers. How can you
Yeah.
protect your idea؟ لأنه أنت عم تعطيهم basically التول شغالة والفكرة موجودة يعني هن ما بقى بدهم منك شيء فعليا at this point.
They need to sell, market, understand the business, understand the problem. The tech is not the business, right? You
Correct.
can give. Yeah, أنا personally I don't خصوصي هلا يعني إذا بتحكيني 5 years ago you give your code base to a third party company that's a big problem صح؟ هلا regularly people عم بيحطوا الكود بيس تبعهم على AI platforms completely مثل ما هن which technically they're giving their whole code base like open AI just to develop something or a cursor right uh, which means over time the the value of the tech is going lower and the value of distribution, of marketing, of sales, of branding, of product positioning, of customer support, stuff like that is what's differentiating companies. And that's what creating the moat, not the tech, in most cases.
But is there anything one can do just like to protect his intellectual
No,
property? No?
no, sign contracts to make sure you're signing them under
Mm.
under legislation that matters. عرفت انه they do it على courts تبع لبنان and then they do something ترفع دعوة it's not really gonna help عرفت بس eventually you also want to work with developers that you trust عرفت you want to work with people that you trust if you don't trust the person you're working with that's the wrong person to work with and that's my advice
Yeah,
uh,
correct. Yeah, sure. But at some point
إيه.
you need to start like hiring people you don't really know, عرفت? So
إيه.
eh,
لا eventually you need to trust them whether it's you think انه
mm,
contracts are what's making them not steal your code and run away او لانه they think انه again code is not the business فيهم ياخذوا الكود
mm,
و they're not gonna make any money out of it عرفت انه they can sell it potentially somewhere بس again what are the chances they know someone that wants to buy the software in this industry
mm.
it's unlikely you know so my advice is just trust them and make sure that I don't know the user roles or whatever are contained depending on platform that you're using يعني بس إنه generally you
Okay.
want to take you want to take the steps to protect your code but في نفس الوقت they need to be able to work for them to be able to work they need access to the code so it's eventually you're gonna have to give them access.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. Noor, you sent a couple of colors. Okay, cool. Well, how was your experience Noor مع Cargo ChatGPT?
Cargo صراحة أول كم يوم I hit my head against the wall. Interface is not very friendly, but once you understand exactly how it works, which ChatGPT helped me do actually,
Yeah.
صار كتير intuitive ومشي الحال يعني صرت I'm actually building websites with some complex functionalities even visually يعني I'm more
Cool.
from the creative tech side than the tech side يعني كتير أكتر front end than back end
Okay.
أنا بس ايه انه it lets you adjust the HTML for every element and lets you adjust CSS or HTML per page and for the website as a whole كمان so once the person kind of wraps their head around the system بصير it's quite easy and there's a lot of online templates كمان that you can use that help you out هلا هيدا
100%.
عملته in 1 week بس ايه مثلا this is my personal website for creative tech صرت اتسلى فيه للويب سايت هذا صراحه this was my practice for the company website
mm, I
um,
get you. أنا هلا I
ايه
sent
so
the one I built
mm,
هيدا personal again أخذتني يمكن شي 3 to 4 hours max including content everything so إنه هيدا على framer using a template
mm.
so
Yeah, no, I think it really helped me إنه عملت شي practice and then اشتغلت على the one that actually matters مش إنه دغري
For
had
sure.
first cargo ChatGPT على the company website, and that really helped me organize
For
things a
sure.
bit more.
For sure. حتى by the way there's a ما بعرف إذا you've heard about it بس في Manus. It's the Chinese AI platform.
I did hear about it
Uh,
بس ما استعملته.
honestly, like try it. It's very impressive, right? It can deploy stuff on their own server, stuff like that. It's still not lovable but try it out. Like it has its pros and cons.
Yeah, I'll check it out. Thanks.
No worries. All right. Any other questions? All right. I think we're good. All right. I think this is it. Maria, I'm not sure if you're still here. Yes, you are.
Yeah, thank you, Wael, and
All
thank you
right.
everyone for attending. Wael, would you like to share the PowerPoint with the startups or no, I
Hey,
can
for sure.
share.
No, for sure, I'll send it to you.
Okay.
To you, like, we can send it by email so it stays there versus المسج one. All right, thank you, everyone.
I shared my email in the chat if you would like to
All
share the
right.
PowerPoint. And guys, I will share the recording of the session as well. Thank you, Wael, very much. It was very
Thank
insightful.
you.
Thanks,
Thank
Wael.
you. Hopefully it was
Thank
helpful.
you.
If you have any questions, please let me know. I'm on LinkedIn, on Instagram, حتى on email. لا بعتلكم. If you have any questions, I'm super happy to help.
Yeah, guys, you can connect with Wael on LinkedIn if you want.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Have a
everyone.
nice day. Bye.
Bye bye.